Hello again, Professor Wiseguy here, eager to engage in another look at how to deal with the flow of a typical academic semester. Perhaps you checked out my video on what to do on the first day of school. If not, you might look there. Next, I had the one regarding the early weeks of the semester. You'll find it here. But now the semester has gotten into its mature weeks. Now, I'm not exactly sure what weeks I would identify as mid-semester. Frankly, it's more about a feeling than about numbers. Essentially, the period I'm talking about here starts once the class doesn't really feel new anymore and lasts until you can sort of feel the end approaching. Now, in a fall semester, I'd probably identify the period from about September 20 to November 1st as the mid-semester. It should certainly include whatever midterm exam the course offers. If there are more tests, then probably the bulk of them, but of course not the final, will be found in this period. If a course includes papers other than a semester project, then they'll most likely come due in this time too. Basically, I find that there are enough graded projects that come due in this period for you to put yourself into either a very good or a very bad position for the final push. If you do poorly in the first fourth or third or so of the semester of most classes, you won't be utterly sunk. If you do poorly in the last segment, you'll probably torpedo yourself significantly. This mid-semester span, while usually not as absolutely crucial as the end, will still cast a large shadow. Now, obviously, though, this all depends on how the professor arranges the semester. So what is the nature of this mid-semester period? Well, from what I can see, this is the time when people show their true colors. I've mentioned before that on the first day of the semester, everybody's going to make straight A's. Everybody is going to put an end to all of their bad habits on day one. You can take that enthusiasm and keep it going for a few weeks, but you can't do it forever. After a few weeks, for most of us, our true colors, our natural tendencies, start to show themselves. If you're the sort of person who really enjoys staying up late and then sleeping late, you can probably suppress that for a few weeks. But after a month or so, your early morning classes will start to suffer as you decide that you can lay in bed just this one morning. Similarly, if you really hate to read assignments or study or write papers or whatever, you can gut it out for a while. But in the mid-semester period, those old habits will probably try to show themselves more and more. Now, does that sound fatalistic? Am I suggesting that if you're a procrastinator or a class skipper or otherwise somebody with poor study habits, that you have no hope of ever overcoming your tendencies? No, but let's not fool ourselves. Habits are hard to change. And if you're going to have a relapse into your non-productive ways, the middle of the semester is probably when you're going to do it. With all that cheery stuff in mind, what can we do to not crash and burn in the middle of the semester? How do we keep bad habits from ruining our good start? I should say that if you don't have those bad habits that ruin your good start, then I have to congratulate you. The easiest bad habits to break are the ones that you don't have. But assuming that you do need to fight against some bad habits, there are strategies that can help. First, if you remember in the earlier videos of this series, I talked about the importance of getting to know people who are going through the same thing you are. This is where they will really prove their value. Now, imagine that you're driving late at night. Is it easier to stay awake when you're alone or when you have somebody else sharing the vehicle with you and staying awake? Now, most people agree that having somebody riding shotgun helps them stay awake. And should they start to nod off, that passenger is there to hopefully notice and wake them up. In the same way, if you're going through a class with one or more others, you can help to keep each other focused, to rouse each other when somebody starts to drift off the road. Of course, some people have noticed that it's hardest to stay awake behind the wheel when somebody else is sleeping in the car. With that in mind, we can understand why it's important to select the right people for your class support group. You don't want somebody who is likely to give you permission to return to your bad habits. You want somebody who will challenge you. The second strategy also involves people, specifically professors. You might think that the most important studying you do for a test is before the test, and I suppose it is, but it is also very important to study during and after the test. Specifically, you want to study the test. Get a sense of the sort of test that this professor gives. Is it nitpicky short answer? Is it mostly essays? Is it multiple choice, true or false, fill in the blank, something else? Most professors have styles in their tests. The first test will probably give you a sense of what the second test will be like. I took a Shakespeare class once, back when Shakespeare was still alive. Okay, I'm not that old. In this class, we had 4 tests, and they all had a very similar structure. The professor would share a quotation on the test, and we had to tell what play it came from and briefly why it was important. So did we have to memorize all of the plays that we read? I think we did about 12 during that semester, so no. All of the quotations that the professor chose were ones that he read and talked about in class. If you noted all of those during class sessions and reviewed them before the test, the exam was pretty simple. In the same way, study the comments that the teacher makes on a paper or other project, and it'll give you a sense of how the teacher's wired, what they think is important, what they might be looking for next time. If you're not completely clear about those comments, go and talk to the professor. You'll almost certainly pick up some useful ideas for how to push the buttons that the professor would like to see pushed. My third and final suggestion is probably the one you'll like the best. Your motivation for the semester's hard work might be an A on your grade report. Awesome. It might actually be the degree you hope to earn or the career you hope to build after school. These are worthwhile and good things, but most of us find it hard to stay motivated fully for the full semester. So give yourself some intervening goals and rewards. If you really love to sleep late, but you avoid it long enough to ace that midterm exam, then find yourself a day when you can sleep as long as you like. Reward yourself with barbecue or ice cream or something, but only when you've earned it. The middle portion of the semester is a dangerous time. It's the time when you're most apt to take your eye off your goal and get yourself behind enough that your possibilities for success are fairly limited. What do you think about the middle of the semester? Add your ideas to the comments down below. And if you find this useful, well, you know what to do. Otherwise, get out of here.